After Meta had turned off the news in Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau commented that Meta were prioritising profit over safety as devastating wildfires forced tens of thousands to evacuate their homes. Faced with that scenario playing out in Australia, we cannot let ourselves be bullied. Meta must be designated under the Media Bargaining Code and challenged to negotiate in good faith. News media is the canary in the coal mine, and the current battle in my industry is part of a much larger struggle, a struggle that will encompass and impact more industries and more people. As a nation, we must not blink now. Commonwealth Bank CEO Matt Coleman told the Australian Financial Review in March, "The world has never seen global monopolies of the size and scale of today's big tech companies. These companies have immense power, and it is critical that they do not undermine Australian sovereignty." Matt told me later that it's reasonable to expect that all companies benefiting from Australians should rightly contribute to a more prosperous Australia. He said that big tech should not free ride on other Australian industries, leaving the cost, investment and regulatory obligations to local companies. No company should be too big to regulate. Let's pause here and go back in time to those early wonder years of the internet and imagine for a moment we had a crystal ball. If we could have looked into the future and seen a world where a handful of companies had privatised the internet, created multi-billion-dollar advertising monopolies, and exposed billions of people to harmful content while turning their noses up at nations around the world, would we have been okay with that? Even before nations like Australia could answer that question, America had already given the tech industry the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. It gave tech companies a blanket exemption from responsibility under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. This created a Silicon Valley sovereignty that now lets them get away with anything. And it's no care and no responsibility, and it's created a global crisis. In the early days of the digital revolution, US lawmakers created a permissive environment for their innovators to flourish. But that was before these startups grew up. Now that they have become some of the most profitable and impactful companies the world has ever seen, even American regulators and politicians know that time is up. Recently, politicians from across the political divide jointly wrote in the Wall Street Journal saying Section 230 is now poisoning the healthy online ecosystem it once fostered. Big tech companies are exploiting the law to shield themselves from responsibility or accountability. They concluded Congress's failure to revisit this law is irresponsible and untenable. So, what can Australia do about these tech giants? Fines don't work. Meta has been a frequent target of regulators. In the last 2 years, numerous penalties have been levelled against Meta for breaking EU data and privacy laws. In May last year, Meta was fined €1.2 billion by the Irish Data Protection Commission for putting the data of EU citizens at risk. As of last week, there are at least 30 enforcement actions against Meta around the globe. But when does this money get paid? Their usual pattern is to fight any ruling against them through appeals in the courts for years. The tech monopolies love to use the law to protect their right to be above the law. When the threat of regulation comes in their direction, the tech monopoly has a playbook. They declare that they want to be regulated, but no solution is ever workable for them. Then they insist that regulation should be harmonised across jurisdictions. And that tactic is playing out again now.